Good morning. I'm Ellen at Sisters 3 Farm, and today I'm going to be talking to you about color transfer, or how to dye without using dyes. Not to sound confusing, it really is color transfer. What we do is we can take color from one piece of fabric. Wool works really well, and we're transferring some of that color to another piece of fabric, and we end up with some very interesting results. Now, you do need some equipment and some tools, and I'll be happy to show you them. First, I think you need a pot in order to soak your wool in, and this needs to be a pot that's dedicated exclusively to your wool. 2 pots is even better, but definitely 1. I use enamel because they're white inside, and when I'm doing color transfer, I can actually see the wool bleeding, and then later on, if it reabsorbs enough of the dye into the wool. When you're using a dark enamel, the kind that you would use when you're canning your fruits and vegetables, that's a dark blue or a black, and it's very hard to see the colors that you're dyeing. So I think white is best if you have it. If not, you could use some kind of stainless steel. Those work also, like a big soup stock pot that you get from a restaurant supply store would also work. Next, you need a couple household items. You need to have a dishwasher rinsing aid. Now, I'm not going to go into any brand names, but this is what you put in your dishwasher in order to help the dishes get dry. The next thing you need from your home is white vinegar. And this is, I just buy big gallons. It's easier that way. If you wish to start adding to your dye stockpile, because you want to really get into dyeing, I would suggest 2 items. I like using Synthropol from Pro Chemical Dyes. This is a wetting agent, and it's exactly the same results. Well, not exactly the same results, but these 2 are interchangeable. The second thing you would buy from Pro Chemical or from another store, rug hooking store that carries dye things, is citric acid. And so citric acid, home use, more of a commercial use. You're going to need some string, your scissors, and a tape measure probably helps. So those are the items, and I can list them below. What you're going to do is you're going to fill your pot up with some water, and you're going to put in a cap full of this, which is about 2 tablespoons, or 2 tablespoons of the wetting aid, the rinse aid. And you're going to put it in your water and just set it aside. Then we're going to take our wool. And what I would suggest is that you do about an 18 inches, which is about 18 inches. That's where it helps. So if you're, and then a fat quarter, so which is probably about 30 inches. So 18 by 30, which is a rough fat quarter. And you need 3 wools. And today I'm going to use these 3 colors. And the reason I'm using these 3 is because we're going to see good results with these. You can use any colors that you happen to have. I use this method often for over dyeing the uglies, you know, things that you're not 100% happy with. And there are 2 different ways to layer them. You could do dark, put your lightest one in the middle, and then you put your medium one here, and then you crumple, crumple, crumple up. Or I kind of like where we do a light or a medium, and then I put my dark, and then I put another light. So you can do any way, but you definitely want to have contrast against contrast, light against dark. So then what you're going to do is make sure it's not perfect. You don't want it perfect. So you want it a little rumply, bumpily. Can you see this? And we're going to roll it up. Roll it up, even with all these little bumps and lumps. So we got a sandwich. Oh, let's get our string ready. You can use elastic bands, rubber bands, whatever you call them. I think it's a regional thing, whether you call them elastics or rubber bands. I'm not sure, but here we go. So I've got my string ready. I've got my lumpy thing, and now I am going to continue to twist. Twist, twist, twist. It's a little reminiscent of doing tie-dye, correct? So this is awesome that we're doing this. All right, if you want, you could put, you know, strings at the end, but I just try to get it as good as I can and hold it and wrap my string around. There we go. Excuse me using my mouth, but I don't have 3 hands. Nice, good squish. You're going to cut the string off later, so you can either tie a knot or a bow, whatever works for you. I try to tuck my ends in a little bit so there's nothing too much. I put, oh, did I have 2? I must have lost it. Yep. Ta-da! I just do 2 just to make sure so it stays nice and tight. Okay, so we have it tied up nice and tight. We have our pot filled with water and our wetting agent. This is, remember, our wetting agent. And we're going to soak it. You can soak it overnight, which is great because remember this is dense and you want the water to get in, or at very least probably about a half an hour to 45 minutes. And then after that we're going to pour off the water and we're going to walk our nice little donut over to the stove and place it in. And we're going to turn on the heat. And we're going to cook that until we see the water start to bleed. Okay, so we've been simmering this for, oh, probably almost half an hour. And what we're going to do is we're going to add our vinegar. And I usually just pour a little bit in, you know, a little, but let's see, a glug glug would be about half a cup. Oh, that's a cup. For this amount, let's do a cup. So throw in a cup of vinegar. Use your dedicated tool for giving it a little stir. And we will continue to just simmer for probably another 15 minutes, and then we're going to come back, turn it off, and we're going to let it cool enough so we can handle it. So we'll come back in a few minutes. So now you can see that it's been simmering for a while, and the color in the water has almost disappeared, and that's because we put in the vinegar, and it helps to pull the color, all the dye, back into the wool. So now I'm going to turn it off, and I'm going to let it sit. And we can see what happens when it gets cool. Hi, so we stewed our wool for at least half an hour. We added the vinegar, we let it cool down. And then what I do is I take the wool when it's cool, I throw it in my washing machine on the rinse and spin cycle, and then I throw it into my dryer either with a big fluffy towel, or I also have those dryer balls, those wool dryer balls. And so I thought I'd show you now the results. So this is the lighter, We've got a little bit here, some blue. We have our peach color, which also has, just on this side, you'll see it's got some very pretty blue and peach, or salmon. The blue one, so I did 2 dyes. This is the blue, really pretty marbleization. And then remember, we did one with very dark blue wool. Well, this really doesn't do anything other than bleed and give its color to the other lighter colors. So it's like a sacrificial piece of wool. And this is what it did. This is the side, pretty interesting, that I kind of crumpled and had against the blue. This is the side that I had against the salmon. Here we go. Here's the salmon side. That's softer. So the side that touches the wool always comes out a little deeper. Oh, here's a couple extra that I did that were fun. And the last one was this. So it's a lot of fun to do these. And don't forget, they don't look exactly like this when you hook them. They kind of get this really nice, a different effect. Remember, it looks more like that. But it's a lot of fun. It's easy. It doesn't require you to purchase any dye packets. So I hope you'll give it a try. And if you like the video, please give it the thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Bye.